the transition into autumn, really we're trying to keep on top of the flower beds still, because these days autumn is a lot warmer than it used to be. Has been pretty wet in recent years, which means that the weeds keep growing compared to 40 years ago, when the grass would have stopped considerably earlier and the weeds will have slowed down, if not stopped, a lot earlier. We're having to do that to keep the maintenance standards high. But equally, we've got all the other usual jobs to do, which will be jobs like hedge cutting, trying to get as much of that done as possible before we might get any colder spells. And behind me here, cutting some of the long grass along the rampart bank there, and the long grass in the arboretum, which we've left perhaps longer than some people would, but I do think that's good for wildflower seed, and particularly for orchid seed to drop. If you don't leave it long enough, it tends not to set, and you can then lose some of the orchids that we've built up over the years. I think it's a good place to start here, because it's raining at the moment and summer seems like a distant memory. But here's a good example where some of the lines still show up from that drought in the summer, where all of this grass was straw, really brown, really there wasn't any green within it at all. And these lines here, for example, still show up, the old Dutch style water features that were here. But in terms of struggles, we don't tend to water the grass in summer. I do think that would be a bit too much. But here and there we've watered some of the planting, mostly though with a lot of mulching, a lot of compost put down on the borders earlier in the year. It tends to be enough, I think, to keep just enough moisture in. Most of the plants coped well with it, one or two struggled, but equally I think generally we'll aim to pick plants that are a bit more tolerant, a bit tougher, for the summers that we tend to have more of now. I think yes, there has. Hopefully, visitors that have been to the gardens, popped in this year, will have been pleased, hopefully, with the new exotic garden. That was all very small, very new, last summer actually, and the bananas within it, obviously, in this summer have got absolutely huge. And the cannas as well, the canna lilies with their big orange flowers on. That's been a big success story because it has liked all the heat. And again, it hasn't taken too much water. And that was why we put it in, I think, really as an example of that. And to be quite honest, we have, as I say, we've done some watering, and Joel will talk about it up in the community garden. But things like the roses early on, and again now, actually did very, very well. They really liked the heat that we had.
So this summer has been really sunny, as I'm sure everyone has enjoyed. So here in the community garden, that's been super for us because we host lots of community groups and volunteers. So we've enjoyed lots of time in the garden in the sunshine, which always just makes life a lot easier. And there's been many things this summer that have done really well. So although watering has been a bit of an issue and taken up a bit more time, there's certain flowers, for example, that have loved the warmth. So we've got cosmos, which have done really well, and you might have found that in your own garden as well. A plant called tithonia, which is a lovely bright orange flower that the bees love. That loves a warm summer, and that's gone pretty bonkers too. And the other thing is zinnias. So they love a warm, dry summer. So we've had super duper flowers. The other thing in the garden that's done super well is our beans. Our beans have gone absolutely bonkers, and our volunteers did actually get bean fatigue at one point because they were having to pick beans all the time. So those are the things that have done really well this summer in the community garden. So the summer has been really hot, and that has been a bit of a challenge for us, mainly just because of the time it takes to water, but also because we want to be really efficient with the water that we use. So we try and target the water on the things that need it most. So in the community garden where we grow flowers and veg, we target our watering on the vegetables. The cut flowers seem to not mind the heat so much. So watering the veg, but it does take time. The other thing which has done really well in the garden is our ornamental succulents. So you might see a couple of places in the garden we've planted up some really beautiful troughs with aeoniums, echeverias and pachyphytum. They're all types of succulent which, as the name suggests, they hold water in their leaves. So they're a bit more drought tolerant, and they have looked really beautiful this summer. So those are the things that we haven't had to water as much. So that's been really good. So I think, as all gardeners probably would say, we kind of love the seasonal change in the garden. And we're outdoor a lot, so the kind of seasonal changes kind of do affect us day to day. So I personally really love the kind of seasonal shift, from spring to like into hot summer, and then again into beautiful autumn. Not just because of the change in temperatures, but the change in the colours and all the different jobs that you do as the seasons change. So as the summer goes into autumn, I have a chat to my group this morning, one of our community groups, and they said the thing that they love this time of year is planting bulbs. So in autumn, you're putting in quite a lot of work, which will pay off the next year. So they said that the thing they love most about autumn is planting bulbs and looking forward to what they're going to find next year, hopefully when they reap the benefits.